You got to know knowledge how we are gifted just for being humans. We are absolute predator. We do not even have any enemies. Maybe they're not anymore watching us and thinking that someday we will be dead.
Hey guys, welcome to my review for Parasyte. Parasyte is a seinen horror manga that was serialized in Afternoon from 1988 to 1995 and was written and illustrated by Hitoshi Iwaki. Our story begins in Japan on a quiet night like any other, where we see our sleeping protagonist, high school student Shinichi Izumi. He's awoken abruptly though when he realizes that some weird snake thing is trying to go up his nose. He tries to fight the snake thing off, but it ends up drilling a hole into his arm and starts to crawl up. So he uses the cords of his headphones to block off the circulation in his arm, and then all of a sudden, it goes away, like it never even happened. So he figures it was just a dream, and then the next day he goes to school like any other day. He starts to realize though that things aren't exactly normal. His right hand starts doing some pretty weird stuff, and he's eventually convinced that his arm is freaking possessed by demons. So he goes home, he takes a knife to it, and this is when he meets his new right hand. Now this guy, who he names Migi, has been living as his right hand all day. Why is he living as his right hand? Well, because he couldn't take over Shinichi's brain. Yes, that was Migi's original goal, but he wasn't able to accomplish it, so now he is stuck as a measly right hand. Although it doesn't bother Migi that much, his only real concern is survival. But Shinichi wasn't the only one affected by this. In fact, there were many more of these creatures that descended upon Earth the previous night. Creatures that were actually successful at taking over the brains of their hosts. Now the problem is, not only do these creatures kill their hosts by taking over their brain, but they also survive solely off of human flesh. And many of these parasite aliens believe that a human and one of their own kind sharing the same body could have disastrous effects for the survival of their species, so they decide, yo, we should probably slice them up. Migi and Shinichi aren't having any of that shit, okay? Shinichi, he's got a family, he's got a mom, he's got a dad, he's got this girl he really likes. And Migi, he just really wants to see Shinichi have sex. And he intends to survive long enough to see that happen. So now it's the two of them against all the other parasites disguised as humans, as they try to fight for survival while at the same time Shinichi is trying to hide his crazy secret from everyone. And holy shit, is this a fantastic manga. Like, I could go on for days about how friggin' perfect everything in this series is. So first off, this series is classified as a horror, but you know, for the first little bit, it doesn't really feel like that. I'd almost argue that the first part of the series is a little bit more lighthearted and comical than you would expect. I mean, sure, there's a ton of crazy murders going on, but at the beginning of the series, it's just Shinichi and Migi. Now, Migi is not a human. He didn't actually gain consciousness until he took over Shinichi's right arm. And he understands next to nothing about humans, so the way he sees the world at first, and the way he says things, it's honestly pretty funny. And there are just some ridiculous things that happen to Shinichi at the beginning of the series that made me go like, yo, this is pretty great. Well, when shit going down, because, you know, of course shit has to go down, and it goes down really hard. Because suddenly you have a series that feels more like Bleach or something, where it's like, alright, let's go kill some monsters, we good, protect the friends, then we'll have some lulls in between, and then all of a sudden it's like, you don't deserve to be happy. And then the rest of the series is just a dark, depressing mess of feels. But the thing is, it's just done so extremely well. This is an incredibly engaging story. You really want to see Shinichi survive, see him protect the people he loves. You want to know where these parasites came from, what their purpose is, and you want to know if anyone's ever going to find out about Shinichi, like what will happen to the world if they learn of the existence of these monsters. This series explores all of that, and it's all done so incredibly well. And even though it's not a very long series, it still takes full advantage of all the time it has to give you the right amount of character development, the right amount of action scenes and suspenseful scenes, and of course the right amount of time to explore some pretty deep themes. Like, this may not be Planet's level deep, but it's still pretty deep. Because you see, here's the thing, the parasites are eating humans not because they necessarily hate humans, but it's because they need to survive. And Shinichi's like, well, this is terrible, we can't let them eat humans, even if they need to eat humans, they just can't do it. But then Migi doesn't really understand where he's coming from, always counters with the argument, it's like, yo bro, what are you talking about? You eat friggin' animals all the time, we're just We're just doing the same thing, food chain. So yeah, a lot of really cool, thoughtful discussions like that. Then, a few humankind as the real monster things thrown in. Like I said, all done exceptionally well. This whole story is fantastic. And the ending is honestly kind of an unusual way to end the series, but let's just say it ends on a very impactful punch. Now, this being a short series, there aren't too many characters to talk about, but of course we have Shinichi. Now, he starts off as, your normal dorky high school kid, but as him and Migi start to develop a mutually beneficial relationship, they start to understand one another, and it sort of changes them a little in ways I don't really want to get into. So yeah, there is some really, really interesting character development to be had. Then you have Migi, who, he's my profile picture. I fucking love Migi. Like I said before, he is just hilarious. He has such a lack of understanding of how humans work. Pretty much everything he says is just completely ridiculous, and it's amazing. Seriously, there's multiple parts in this series where he's actually trying to jerk Shinichi off because he's curious to see what would happen. It's just so fascinating how this alien character with such a lack of personality can develop to become such a good character that you really care about by the end of the series, despite him almost always having just a complete lack of a heart. Like seriously, this guy's main goal is survival, and if Shinichi doesn't want to agree with him, he has no problem cutting out Shinichi's eyes and tongue, because all Migi really needs is for Shinichi's heart to keep on beating. Now, there are a few notable other characters, like Shinichi's parents, mainly his father, plays a big role in this series. The girl Shinichi likes, Murano, plays a big part in the series because, they're always spending time together and he's trying his best to hide his secret from her. Because if he also knows that if she finds out the secret, Migi will probably try to kill her. And then there are a few detective characters too who get thrown into the plot when they're trying to figure out what the crap's going on with all the murders. And then of course you have a few antagonists in the form of Parasytes, and they are most certainly a force to be reckoned with. Now, if the Parasyte characters were actually human, I would say, they don't really stand out that much as villains, because, most parasites don't have much of a personality. But that's not really what the series was going for, because this is a horror manga. You have these crazy, unpredictable aliens who disguise themselves as humans. They could strike at any moment. No one knows where they are. Everyone Shinichi knows is in danger from them. And that's why they work so well as antagonists in the horror manga. And next up for the art, is pretty good. Now, this is an older manga, so of course it has a more older art style and the characters dress like they're from the 80s and 90s. But other than that, the art still holds up incredibly well. The Parasytes look insane. Like, they look friggin' crazy, and I love their designs. When the Parasytes fight, their heads just peel apart and they become these crazy tentacle blades. It's all extremely creative and the action scenes are drawn incredibly well. So it's not the best art I've ever seen, but there's very little to complain about here. In fact, the only real issue I had with the art is a very small nitpick, and that sometimes the mouths look a little weird. I know that's a bit of a weird criticism, but yeah, here are some mouths. They looked a bit weird. So those were my thoughts for Parasyte, a fantastic manga series, one of my favorites. I cannot recommend it enough, and that is why I'm giving it my final score of 5 puppies out of 5. If you're interested in checking out Parasyte, which I implore you to do because it's so good, all 8 volumes are in print and available from Kodansha. Now, it's worth noting that the series was originally 10 volumes and these 8 volumes are a little bit thicker. The good thing is though, they're actually the same price as a normal single manga volume, so you're actually getting a bit more bang for your buck. If you're more of an anime kind of person, you can check out the excellent anime adaptation on Crunchyroll. That's right, I've actually seen the anime this time and it's friggin' fantastic. This manga was really popular when it came out, so I was kind of surprised it took so long for it to get an anime adaptation. But I'm kind of glad they waited, because with the newer technology we've gotten for animation, just make this series so much better. Now, they do update it to make it take place in modern times, but I feel that just makes it a lot better. And in my opinion, it's definitely one of the best anime adaptations out there. There were also 2 live action movies. My god. But yeah, so that about does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you guys for a very special review on March 3rd.